Welcome to Thrive, the show where we dive into the strategies, discuss the steps, everything that you need to know to turn all of this uncertainty into your greatest competitive advantage. I'm your host, Meridith Elliott Powell. I got to tell you, I am super excited about today's show because we are going to dive into one of the most important subjects out there. I just called it networking, but our guest today calls it strategic networking. And if you are not out there building relationships, building connections, then you are behind in today's marketplace. Now, my guest today is Michael Foreman. Connections, a network expert. And I got to say, Michael, before we dive in and start talking about this subject, which I feel like people know is important, but so many people shy away from, I want to get a little bit on your backstory. Why are you so passionate about networking? How did you even get into this? And what exactly do you mean by strategic networking?
Well, 100 years ago, when I was in the Air Force, I was in the Air Force about 9 years, and I realized that I had to tell people what to do. I outranked them. I was a young 20-something buck sergeant or tech sergeant, and I had to tell other staff sergeants and buck sergeants what to do, but I was 21 years old. I didn't know, what. So that began my networking journey. I got out of the Air Force, became my own boss, pizzerias, restaurants. So I learned how to speak to the employees, most importantly, the vendors, and the customers. And then I went into the corporate world. I went to mortgages, and I really became the face of the mortgage company because I was doing the seminars and I was doing everything else, going out and talking about networking. And then I moved down to Georgia and I became a sales director in a law firm. I became the face of that company. And, again, it was about networking, getting people together and customer service and everything else like that. But about 3 years ago, I said, you know what? Enough of this. I've had enough. I'm going on my own. And I realized that ever since the pandemic, people lost their minds. They think networking is through Zoom and the cell phones, and you lose everything. You lose that personal touch. You lose, the feeling, the vibe of the room and feeling everything else. So you miss out on so much when you don't communicate. And by the way, we are human beings. We need that personal touch.
Yeah, so true. So what do you mean by strategic networking? What and what really is networking in general?
Well, people generally go out and they call it networking when they go out and just, oh, there's a networking event I'm going, and they just go and they just talk, and they don't have anything that they're focusing on. And there's a strategic way you should be networking for you to get the most out of it. So I believe that what I teach, of course, when I coach and when I speak on stages, it's I speak about networking communication, but if you do that more effectively and efficiently, you'll actually create more profits for yourself. So when I say strategic, it's what are you doing when you're approaching the table, let's say at a networking event? What are you doing? What are you thinking? Who are you going after? Is it a conversation that I want to be a part of? No, okay, I'm going to politely bow out and go to the next table. So I'm very strategic in the areas that I want to network.
So when I feel like every time I say the word networking, it is if I feel the energy suck directly out of the room. So I want to ask and I want to understand why are we so challenged with networking? And does networking have to be done in person?
No, that's first and foremost. It definitely does not, because with the age of technology, you know, in-person networking is only half your networking. When I go on either a Zoom call or something else, I'm speaking to people all over the country or all over the world. So I don't have to, limit myself. But networking, yeah, it kind of sucks the air out of the room if you don't know what you're doing. But if you go in with what I call a servant's heart, if you go in thinking to give and not receiving, then that takes all the pressure off. It just says, okay, what can I do for you? How can I make you more successful? And that usually blows the person away. Like, I don't even know what you do yet. And, if you get that response, you're on the right track.
So, why are we so adverse to networking? What is our issue with it?
You're shy, because the extroverts really don't have a problem with networking. It's more of the introverts or the introverts trying to go out and be extroverts. Okay, and in my talks, I bring that up. I bring up introverts versus extroverts, and there's a certain way you can do it. With my way of networking, between approaching the table, having the discussions, the follow up, and everything, it's really very simple because introverts who are deathly afraid of networking and they think it's a four-letter word, but if they bring what I was in the Air Force, so I call it a wingman. Bring
Yeah.
a wingman with you. Okay, bring somebody that knows you, that knows all about you. And when the conversation at the table comes around to you, you say, you know something? Michael here knows a lot about that. Michael, why don't you tell us about that? So that's kind of an invitation, and that brings the introvert out a little bit, and they can talk about what they do best, and what they're passionate about, or what their job is, and it's kind of like a little lead-in for them.
So, what are some of the biggest mistakes you feel like people make with networking?
Talking. Listen, I went to the school of hard knocks. I did everything wrong before I did it correctly. Right? So when I walked into a networking event, especially when I was in the mortgage business, walk into and I had diarrhea of the mouth. I just talk, 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 talk. When in essence, you should not be talking at all. You should be listening. I call it active listening,
Mm,
right? Because you should listen, not just hear the person, but listen to what they have to say and respond. By the way, after you listen, you pause just for a second or two, because that tells them that you were listening. So then you listen, repeat some of what he said or she said, and then you ask a question. The, your biggest mistake is don't try to keep feeding them information. Don't, you're thinking about the next thing that you want to say instead of listening to them and responding to what they're saying.
what do you think of? I'm so curious, kind of keeping in line with this questioning is what do you think of the elevator speech? What do you think of the, those types of things?
Okay, well, your 30-second elevator speech, that's the first thing you should perfect. Okay. And then crumple it up and throw it out. Right? Because what it's for, what's the reason that you create this speech? You to get a response. You think of yourself in an elevator. How can I get a response from the person that I'm saying this to? So, my 30-second elevator speech, I help professionals network and communicate more effectively and efficiently, thus creating more profits. Right?
Mm, mhm.
That's it. But what do I say to a person? No, no, no. I help people network and communicate for more profits, for more money. And they say, for more money. Well, how is that? That's all I'm trying to do. I'm
Yeah.
trying to get a response from the person. And all the people that I coach, I tell them all the same thing. Listen, get your 30-second elevator speech. Let's get down right to it. And then take it, crumple it up, and throw it away because we're not going to use it. They say, well, why do we do it? Because that helps you focus on what your message is.
Yeah. So you want to have it, you want to be clear on what you offer. So if the conversation does come around to you, that you can be, you can be clear on it. But to walk into that networking event really thinking about the fact it's not about you. You want to focus clearly on other people.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, every time, and, Zig Ziglar and everybody else, up there would say the same thing. If you give and not receive, what goes around does come around,
Mm,
because once you give a referral or you try to put 2 and 2 together, 2 people together, they will in turn feel indebted to you, and they will try to get you a referral as well.
yeah.
So always try to give.
So where should you be networking?
Okay, so if you're just beginning, go to your local chamber of commerce and join that because they always have after hours meetings. and you see basically the same people most of the time, right? And you can practice, because networking is a skill and a talent, right? So you have to practice, practice, practice all the time. The first time that you go out and do this, you're going to suck. It's going to
Yeah.
be bad, right? But if you start with the Chamber of Commerce or your local meetups, Eventbrite has a few networking meetings. Go out and practice. Go out and just try this out. Well, that line didn't really take. Let me change it up a little bit, and do that eventually. Eventually, you're going to get good at it, and you're going to enjoy going out networking.
How do you effectively do it online? I mean, like, I think about like my business and my career, and I don't really work locally in my town on purpose. I don't want to. I mean, I really work more globally. How do you network and connect and do you need to find an in-person component for that when you do that?
When you're first starting out, yes. Okay. I think it's very important for you to get that personal feeling. But if you go to LinkedIn, let's say, is a business networking social media platform. I'm on all the social media platforms, but I use LinkedIn as my business social media platform. So you make your connections. I call it a soft connect. You make your connections. But let's say, Meredith, that you were a roofing company, a metal roofing company. I just did a workshop for one, and what I did with the owner was I cut out like 2 or 3 articles and I sent it to him. And I said, through LinkedIn, I messaged him through LinkedIn, said, look, I think you might find these interesting. And he responded, he goes, yes, it was very interesting, da da da. And that's how it all started. So I strategically did that. I got the articles, I cut them out or electronically cut them out, and I gave it to him. So if you try to meet the people that you want to meet through LinkedIn, do something like that.
How do you coach people through fear of rejection and the lack of instant gratification?
Well, okay. I I set the stage. I say, look, you should forget about instant gratification. Because when somebody's just starting out, they're like, I'm a salesman. I have to sell, 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 sell. But with you used to make phone calls, and out of every 100 phone calls, you get 2 people that are slightly interested. So you have a chance of one. So you should get that instant gratification out of your system. Okay, you should learn to give instead of receive, and just learn the businesses that you're dealing with. Okay, you know your market, you know the people that you're going after. You have to learn those businesses, because how can you sell to somebody? You are essentially a problem solver, right? So they have to have a problem, and we're going to solve it. Okay, well, how do I know what their problems are if I don't know about their company?
There is something though about like I think the biggest I believe in networking. I mean, I believe I'm obsessed with successful people. And the thing that you realize about successful people, it's all about relationships and who they meet. I just got affiliated with a gentleman that I just can't believe how he started a business, and it has been nothing else but his connections that have taken him to another level, and just my being affiliated with him, what that has done for me. Do you feel like networking is something that maybe our generation is getting better, as good at? Maybe it's being lost with the younger generations. And if so, why?
When I speak on a stage, I usually have all the 20 somethings raise their hand,
Right.
and then all the 30 somethings raise their hand. And I say to them, okay, for your group, what I'm telling you is completely Greek. You don't know anything about it, because nobody taught them how to go out and network. They just say, look, this is what you have. You have to go out and network now. They don't tell them how to do it. Okay, so 20 something, 30 something, the 40 somethings, they have an idea of
Yeah.
this, but they don't generally use it. The 50s are better, that do it if they're successful. Okay, so then I have to bring them back to the beginning and show them exactly what I'm talking about. And they said, they're like, I've never heard of this, like, and they're writing everything down. I said, well, you know something? You have to be taught. Once you're taught, once you do this, then you kind of put your own flavor on it and you go out to the world. It's lost on the 20 and 30 somethings. So that's my job.
Is to really get that group
Yeah.
going. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel like this is something that companies still value?
Sure. I go into companies every month. I go into companies every month because what I say, don't just give me your salespeople. Give me your back office people. Give me your warehouse people, everybody that deals with a customer, because you should be the face of your company. And that's what the owner thinks anyway, that everybody should represent me. And you have to be smile. I do the listen, you're going to laugh at the things that I say because when the customer service people, I have them put a little mirror next to the phone. And
Oh,
I have them smile into the mirror because when they're talking and they're smiling and they're talking, you can hear that. You can
yeah.
hear them smiling and having a good time. So that's a major difference. I had one company I went to about 6 months ago, 7 months ago, and I got an email from the owner about a month ago. Said, look, we did what you said and we increased our sales just by doing that by $25,000.
I think networking is one of those areas that just is not taught anymore. And I think one of the biggest challenges with young people, I mean, I know when I was a kid, my mother told me to talk to strangers. And when my parents would have a party at the house, it was our responsibility to go up and to talk, to people and things like that. It was part of how we were raised and what we were told, to do. And I'm wondering how difficult it is to teach networking if you're not catching me until I'm 25 or 26 years old when I'm coming into the workforce.
It's Well, I would say very difficult. Okay. But that's why companies need somebody like me to come in and physically hold their hand. I do a workshop instead of a breakout session.
Mm,
I physically go in there, but I talk to them about, look, eye contact. You have to have eye contact. You have to dress the part. You have to square your shoulders. You have to shake their hand firmly, not like a dead fish, but shake their hand firmly. And they don't never heard of this stuff before. Where do you put your hands while you're talking to someone? Most marketing people will say, "Oh, that middle steeple. Keep your hands in front of you like that." No, you talk with your hands. That's natural.
yeah,
Right? So talk
yeah,
with your I'm, Jewish and Italian, it's all, "Hey, what are you doing? Hey, hey, hey." Don't go that crazy, but just speak with your hands and speak, focus on what you're saying and really think about it. And this is what I teach every
yeah,
single time.
yeah. Um,
It's right down to the basics.
so what about follow through and follow up strategies?
Follow-up, I believe, is more important than actually meeting the person,
Mm,
okay? Because most people, A, don't follow up at all. B, follow up incorrectly. C, they don't follow up enough or in the right way.
yeah.
I have what's called a secret sauce with my
Okay.
follow up. Okay, within 2 weeks, if you send an email out to a possible or whatever customer client, you have about a 2% chance of them responding to you.
Wow.
Okay, so you have to really concentrate on your follow-up. You have to follow up enough, but don't seem like you're too much. So you have to
Mm,
find that point right in the middle. And most of all, most importantly with follow-up, okay? After I go to a networking event, I send a thank you email. Thank you very much, Meredith. Thank you much for your time. I loved have I had a great time tonight. Hope to work with you soon, Michael. That's it,
yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The next morning, because I have your business card, the next morning, I'm gonna send you a handwritten thank you note. A handwritten thank you note. Put my business card in, I'll say exactly the same thing. "Hey, Meredith, this is Michael. I met you on such and such date at such and such an event. We spoke about XYZ. I hope to work with you soon. Michael. And that's it, right? Now, on the back of your card, I wrote down the date, the name of the function, and what we spoke about, right? So I always have that so I don't have to think, oh, what did I talk about, right?
Right.
So then in 3 days, if I haven't gotten a response from you yet, hey, Meredith, this is Michael. And I always repeat what I wrote down. I met you on such and such date at such an event. We spoke about X, Y, Z. I'm really interested in doing business with you. How's next week? That's
Nice.
really, really soft, right?
Yeah.
Now, 3 days. Now, look, I've increased your chance of getting a response greatly just by that. But let's say in 3 days, you haven't responded to me yet. All right, one more email. Hey, Meredith, this is Michael. I met you on such and such date, such and such event. We spoke about X, Y, Z. Listen, I see Tuesday and Wednesday of next week is open for me. Is one of those days good for you, Michael? Right? So that increases the chance of response rate, and I gave you something to focus on.
Right.
Let's say that you still have not responded to me. 3 days later, write you another email. Hey, Meredith, it's Michael. Met you on such date, such an event. We spoke about X, Y, Z. I told you Tuesday and Wednesday were open for me. Tuesday is kind of closing up for me. I'm getting rather busy. How's Wednesday? And then wait for your response. If you still haven't responded to me, there's a closing type because that generally means that you're not going to respond to me. Okay. It
Right.
means that, and you have to appreciate that. One last email, right? Hey, Meredith, this is Michael. I met you on such date, such an event. We spoke about X, Y, Z. I said Tuesday and Wednesday were open. They're kind of closing. Is there a good date for you,
Huh.
Michael? So I left it open ending, but I didn't do anything else after that. So what I do with your card and all the touch points that I made with you, the thank you card, the emails, everything else, I take all that information, I put it into my CRM,
Yeah.
and I put you on a monthly touch list. And I do the same thing. Hey, Meredith, this is Michael. I met you at such date, talk about XYZ. Just touching base with you, see if I can help you in any way. And you do that monthly,
Nice.
right?
You know, yeah, Michael, it's hard to believe, but we are about at the end of this podcast, and I always like to end with two
Sorry.
questions. No, you're good. Two questions. And the two questions are you can answer them in either order. Number one, how do people find out about you? How do they find out about your strategic networking, all of your advice and the things that you offer? The second is what is your greatest piece of advice for people out there struggling with all this uncertainty in today's marketplace? What would be your best piece of advice to help them turn all of this uncertainty to their greatest competitive advantage?
Okay, so I'm gonna answer the second question first.
Sure.
Okay, go out and network. No matter what you listen, you're gonna be horrible. It doesn't matter. Okay, go out and have a good time. Go out and meet new people, and just think about getting their business information so you can start with an email with the thank you note and everything else. That's all. Just begin. Most people are so afraid that they don't begin.
Right.
And so once you begin, it'll start working out well. And listen, you can get hold of me because I have digital courses. I have a book. Um, I have on the plethora of podcasts that I've been on, but everything is on my website, michaelaforeman.com. You can go on there. You can see the podcast, my book, digital courses, and things like that. But on the bottom, there's an information where you can put your name in there and ask me for information, and I'll contact you within 24 hours.
I love that. I think that at any moment in time, we're only one connection away from somebody who can literally and powerfully change our life. Michael, this has been a fantastic show. We'll make sure all the connections, everything is wrapped up in the show notes. And the best piece of advice you've gotten here today is go out, build a network. It will literally change your life and change your career. We'll see you right back here next week on another episode of Thrive.